In 1921, a passion play of reverential grandeur shone brightly, if bitterly, at the UW. Believe it or not, Seattle once possessed the largest stage in the world for an event second to nothing the world has ever seen. From promoters and newspapers, such superlatives flowed to biblical proportions for The Wayfarer, a Christian passion play whose Seattle centennial is next month. The production rented 8-month-old University of Washington Husky Stadium and erected a stage covering its east end with a massive 100 by 75-foot proscenium. The 6-night show ran at 8 p.m. July 23rd and July 25th to 30th, 1921, drawing a total of 88,285 who bought $1.10 to $3.30 tickets, $16 to $49 today with inflation, to see 100 paid performers and 5,000 local volunteers present a 3-hour musical tribute to Christ, culminating in his allegorical global coronation. Never perhaps in the 1,921 years since was born the babe that in a manger lay has humanity witnessed such a spectacle of reverential grandeur, stated one ad. To counter the horrible nightmare of the just completed Great War, World War I, The Wayfarer had inspired awe since its 23-show debut in 1919 in Columbus, Ohio, and 5-week run in 1919-1920 at New York's Madison Square Garden. The fanfare intensified when its author, the Reverend James Crowther, formerly of Seattle's First United Methodist Church, pressed a button in Philadelphia to electrically launch Seattle's opening performance. On its front page, the Seattle Post-Intelligencer predicted The Wayfarer would become the most important civic enterprise ever undertaken here. 5 nights in, the show legitimized the tall talk when attendance hit the event's 24,000 capacity and 3,000 plus were turned away. "Stadium too small," trumpeted a front-page Seattle Times headline. Now, Crowther had projected, and many locals had assumed, that the Wayfarer would become an annual affair here. Civic leader C.T. Conover vowed that it would make Seattle a mecca for spiritual uplift and regeneration. But cracks quickly shattered the sheen. After closing night, the troupe's manager, Edgar Webster, clumsily declared the pageant strictly a business proposition that would use half of its $125,000 Seattle proceeds to, as implied by its foot-traveling name, stage it wherever it wished. "Commercialism," cried a Times editorial, accusing Webster of breaching public trust. Bitterly disappointed, the paper said it resents this playing upon the normal religious feeling of the tens of thousands who went away confident that Seattle would become the home of the greatest spectacle of its kind in the world. Immediately, Webster's board walked back his affront. The Wayfarer returned to the stadium, but just twice, in 1922 and 1925. Of course, the generations to come supplied us further evidence that transcendent visions often fail to sustain the heights of their hype. In our first then photo, visual chicanery to match verbal puffery for the Wayfarer came in the lavish program sold at the 1921 shows. Across its center spread sprawled this east-facing photo depicting the stage surrounded by a jam-packed crowd at University of Washington, now Husky, Stadium. Trouble is, the crowd in the doctored photo is the one that attended the stadium's inaugural football game the previous November 27th, when the UW fell 28-7 to Dartmouth. Our second then photo is one of the few findable images to accurately place the massive Wayfarer stage in its venue in 1921. It likely depicts a daytime rehearsal for the Christian Passion play, touted as Seattle's answer to a similar show in Oberammergau, Germany, that has been performed about every 10 years starting in 1634. Our third then photo also is from the 1921 Wayfarer program. It depicts the grand finale in which all bow to Christ. Our fourth then photo is a southeast view that shows the Wayfarer stage under construction at University of Washington Stadium. Today, from the same vantage point at Husky Stadium, this November 18th, 2017 image shows a hefty football audience watching the Washington Huskies defeat the University of Utah Utes 33-30. Originally unlimited by a stage, the stadium held 30,000. Today, with a 1936 addition and new grandstands in 1950 and 1987, the capacity is 70,083.